The next thing we talked a little bit about was unlocking God's blessing, and we use this as our memory verse, and we're going to be memorizing this verse this whole year, okay? So let's say it all together as Ave had us read earlier. I'd encourage you to read this with me. Will a man rob God? Okay, all together. Will a man rob God? Yet you rob me. But you ask, how do we rob you? In tithes and offerings. You are under a curse, the whole nation of you, because you are robbing me. Bring the whole tithe into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house. Test me in this, says the Lord Almighty, and see if I will not throw open the floodgates of heaven and pour out so much blessing that you will not have enough room for it. Malachi 3:8-10. How many of you want more blessings in your life? How many of you want a blessing? You can't even hold on to your blessing. You can't even contain your blessing. You're going to have so many blessings that you're going to be like, here, I'm going to give some to my neighbors. I'm going to give some to my coworkers. I'm going to give some to my friends. I'm going to give some blessings to my family. How many of you would like that in your life? Test God. That's what he says right here. Test me. This is not a pastor saying, hey, you give me money and God's going to bless you. No, I'm telling you as a pastor, you give God your money and he's going to bless you. He's going to bless you. And where is God's interest? Where is God's passion? It's down here on this earth. It's helping people to know about the gospel. It's helping people to know about the truth. So I would like to encourage all of you, if you want to see God's blessing in your life in 2025, faithfully return your tithes and offerings to God and he will bless you. And some of you are like, sounds good. I've been tithe paying for years. I challenge you to step it up this year. Go with a 20% tithe. Do you know when I started as a registered nurse out of nursing school in 1989, every time I would get a raise for the first few years, I would increase my tithe. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm just sharing you what God has done for me. I got to a point where I was paying 50% tithe. I was living in the Bay Area on a 150-acre ranch, managing a multi-million-dollar property, living 3 miles from Stanford, and I lived there for free for 22 years. If you want to see God do something in your life, test him. I could tell you stories all day of what God has done for me. My first job as a pastor, I hear Rolando back there. He was one of my members down there in Redwood City Church. And one day I'm there, and the head elder comes in. He says, I put something in your office for you. I go in there, and there's a nice backpack with a climbing rope and climbing gear. And I'm like, I love to climb. This is awesome. And he goes, oh, you like that? There's a whole bunch more where that came from. His neighbor moved off and left all this climbing gear behind. And so the man asked him, can I give it to my pastor? He gives it to his pastor. You can't outgive God. He will bless you. I give God my money. God gives me the climbing gear. I give God my money. God gives me a place to live for free. God will bless you. So if you don't pay your tithes and offerings, I want to challenge you right now. Faithfully return your tithes and offerings to God, and he will bless you. If you do pay your tithes and offerings, give a little bit more. Step it up from 10% to 12%, and you'll get a 2% raise in your blessings. Step it up from 10% to 20%, and you're going to see more blessings in your life as well. It's just a God principle.